I'd like to welcome everybody to the November meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission. At this time, we'll call the meeting to order. As always, we'll start with the prayer and pledge, and Eddie Miller is going to take care of that for us today. Eddie?
Thank you, Dee. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for all the many blessings that you give us. We ask that you help us make good decisions today and help there be peace in the world and goodwill for all. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge to the flag, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Eddie.
Go back and get just right.
Everybody should have received their packet earlier in the week. Contained in the packet were the minutes from our October meeting. At this time, we'll entertain any changes that need to occur, and if there are none, a motion for acceptance.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion.
And I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Mitzi, thank you. We'll move down to new business. Rachel Singer is going to come up and tell us about a couple of new programs that she wants to get approved today. Rachel, you can just cover them both, and we'll take care of them in one vote.
Okay, sounds good. The first one that I'm seeking your approval for is a new camp to add to the lineup for Outdoor Murfreesboro for next summer. It's called Explorers Camp, and it will target ages 8 to 9-year-olds. We've always had camps that will fall into this range. We've had nature camp, and we still will continue to have that, but the ages were 6 to 8, and then our adventure camp and our wildlife camp started at 9 and went up from there. So what we found is that the 8 and 9-year-olds were a little too old for nature camp and a little too young for adventure camp and wildlife camp, so we're going to target just that age group for Explorers Camp, and it's going to be a great week filled with activities that will target just that age group. So they'll do fun things such as kayaking, bouldering, hiking. We'll have a camp out day where they can learn how to backpack to Barfield Campground, learn how to set up a tent, outdoor cooking, all that fun stuff. So I'm proposing the fee be $75 registration fee and a $25 equipment fee. So that would bring the total to $100. The time frame is 9 until 2. And like I said, the ages are 8 to 9. I'd be glad to answer any questions on that one if you have any.
Okay. Cover the next one.
The next one is it's called Naturalist in Training, and it is a program that we would like to do in May. It'll be a 4-week series, and it will run Saturdays, the 4 Saturdays in May. The ages would be 10 to 12-year-olds, and this program is for the kids that just love the outdoors, love the animals, love nature, everything that makes up Tennessee. So we're going to take them hiking, go over how to identify frogs and insects and trees, and just all the things that make Tennessee a great state. They'll also get the opportunity to learn about our education animals that we have at the Wilderness Station and how to take care of them. And then they'll also do a conservation project throughout the whole month. The fee I'm proposing for that would be the $20, and that would cover the 4-week series. It would be 3 hours, 9 to noon on each Saturday. I'd be glad to answer questions on that one.
Does anybody have any questions for Rachel regarding either one of these programs?
Rachel, what's your capacity for number of students?
For each one, the Explorers Camp, we're going to limit it to 12. And the Naturalist in Training, we're going to limit it also to 12, keeping those groups small.
Any other questions? If there are no questions, we need a motion for approval of the programs.
I move approval of both programs.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They are approved.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel. Lanny, I believe you have the next 2 items. First up is consideration of 2 professional service agreements for a school park location study soccer practice facility feasibility study.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. I do have two professional services agreement for your consideration. The first one is to develop at least or look at 4 to 5 school park sites. The professional service agreement just go over some of the points of the projected scope of the work. We'll meet with representatives from the city to discuss the potential to develop 4 to 5 school parks that would include athletic and recreational facilities. Of course, it'd be members from my staff and from the school staff that would be meeting, and then possibly some other city officials. And then after determining potential sites, and what we do is we discuss all the school sites, look at which ones that we think would be the greatest access to the residents, which ones would give the best service to the schools if developed. And then from there, there would be an assessment of each one of those particular areas that would look at the existing needs, look at the way that you get to the schools, the neighborhoods. I know that talking to Mr. Anderson this morning from city schools, there are certain schools that are around big populated areas for residents. And so that would be a consideration to look at if we do create what I call neighborhood park at the school, what's a group that we're going to be serving when if we do develop that indeed. And then from there, we would determine the number of facilities. I know we've been working with the schools on tennis, and we have refinished the tennis courts at Cason Lane, at the new Discovery School, which is the old Bellwood School, and also the Siegel School. The other courts that are at the old existing schools are really in shape that they need to be redone. So our discussions have been, let's look at the campuses as a whole. Let's look at the sites that we can potentially develop jointly, and where can we put additional tennis courts if needed? Where do we need to put practice fields that can become game fields for the schools? What's the school's mission in terms of developing athletics at the elementary school level? What is our need for additional practice fields for soccer, baseball, softball? All of those kind of things would go in there. And I think that leads us to a fact that, if we identify different schools within the city, it adds to not only a benefit to the schools because it creates better facilities for them to service their school children with the programs that they're offering, but it also adds to what we need to do in getting additional facilities as we grow for practice areas and game areas. So after that, we would meet with city officials to present a concept plan. Of course, that concept plan would be layered over a GIS map, kind of as, I guess you would say, a draft proposal for us to take a look at and consider. The cost for this proposal is $9,700, and the firm is ready to work on that one now as soon as we get it approved. I do have this on City Council for consideration tomorrow evening as well.
Go ahead.
I'll be glad to answer any other questions you may have if you want to do that now or you want to wait to the end of the other.
You got any questions on this one before he moves on?
What kind of facilities, it says school parks, but I know athletic with tennis or baseball, softball.
Think of Mr. Shirley, think of a park. And think of some of the common things that you would have in a neighborhood park. You would have playgrounds. You may have tennis courts. You may have what Eddie and I used to call sandlot baseball. Places just where kids in the neighborhood go do a pickup game. The other thing, when you layer the schools into it and you talk about school parks, then you start looking at, yes, there's those facilities, but which ones actually enhance the academic and extracurricular activity of the schools, and which ones can we join together when we do that. I know that schools are talking about rolling a soccer program out. So if we're looking at those particular schools and we have a need for soccer practice facilities, and we're going to improve the quality of that particular site, then it would only make sense that we improve it to a point that it would make a good game facility for the schools. So that's kind of in a nutshell what we're looking at when we start talking about developing those particular sites. And the other things that you would look at is walkability, rideability if you're riding your bike, if you're driving to that, is there parking? Do we have restroom facilities? You know, when we put the little kids out there that are going to practice soccer, one of the first things they may want to do is run to a restroom, and that may be a consideration when we start looking at that. Is there a need for additional amenities on that site as we develop it for a dual use? So our goal will be to make sure that we meet the needs of city schools and we meet the needs of the community through parks as we do that.
And I guess the other question or concept that flows into it is, how does it impact the extended school programs? I know that when my children are involved in after-school programs, they're often on what would be considered the park services up until 4 or 5 o'clock.
Right.
Is that in consideration here too?
What we've been doing, and we've been working with Dr. Gilbert and her staff, and they have allowed us on the school grounds at 5 o'clock during the school day. And then, of course, then we have weekends, holidays, and summers. So it functions like a park, but there would be some limitations. And, of course, that would be one of the other discussions I'm sure that we'd get into, is the safety of the children while they're at school. And that's paramount to both parties. So we want to make sure that when we go into this and we look at the development, that we're coming from both sides, that there's enough usability for the community, but it also gives protection and usage
And so
on the school side.
the proposed contract is looking, that the role of that is to look at all of those factors.
Yes, sir.
And decide.
Good questions. Any others?
Lanny, first I want to acknowledge the fact that I think you're going in the right direction, and I want to acknowledge the fact that I think that you're doing a fantastic job of taking our city in the right direction with what you're trying to accomplish here. The concept of, I often listen to Truman Jones in the morning on the radio when he refers to Mitchell Nelson playing against Critchlow and stuff in football games and stuff. And I think that now that neighborhood identity is probably switching more from football to soccer. Just the interest of kids is changing. But I do think there's that relationship that will be a wonderful experience for kids. Right now we've got the gymnasiums and we have basketball in school, but once they go outside for their outdoor activities now, there's no connection between education and academic side versus the athletic side. And I think this, because they want to, there's some kids who just have a great interest in athletics, but their emphasis might not be on school. If we can connect the two and bring them together, I think that if they understand that in order for me to do this thing that I really have this passion for, I have to achieve on this other side as well, I think that's a win-win for us. Mm-hmm. And to get the students involved and to understand that I'm part of a team, and not only a part of a team, but a part of a community, because he refers back to the Mitchell Nelson Critchlow era, and when these teams competed. I think that's great for the neighborhood. It's also a direction that I think we need to go with our parks, in the sense that you shouldn't have to get in a car and drive somewhere to go to a park. It would be great that, certainly for our new neighborhoods, when we look out at the overall creek area, probably an excellent area because we don't have a soccer field close to that area. So it would be something that would be much in demand. On the other side of the coin, we've got the older neighborhoods like Mitchell Nelson who basically have an open field behind them now. And it's nice that it's an open area, but it's not used very much. And so to see that developed into something that we can use at no expense to the taxpayers as far as an increase in purchasing property, it's a win-win, and I think this is the exact direction that we need to be going in. And certainly I want to thank not only Lanny but Dr. Gilbert for working this out and getting us going in this direction. There's also some grant money I know that's available, and one of my desires is to see us develop some sidewalks to connect these neighborhoods to these parks. And I think that there's opportunity there for us to help the neighborhood as this project develops. So I guess it's a win-win-win if you look at it that way. So thank you for putting an emphasis on it, and I think you're going in the exact correct direction. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good point.
One of the things that we're really committed to, and Lanny knows this because we've been working on this a while, is the concept of the whole child, and being very much aware that the academics, the physical health, emotional health, academic health of children are all connected. And so our goal in the system, in the city system, is to really have the schools as the center of the neighborhood. And I think you'll see with what's been happening with the after-school programming, particularly for the last 2 years, with the expansion of that program, with the expansion of the basketball, with the tennis camps we've been having with MTSU, with the soccer program, that our goal is exactly what you're talking about, is that you have 8,000 children here within the city schools themselves, not counting all the others that are there, that really deserve that. And so we see this as a real benefit for that.
Thanks, Linda. Good points. Any other questions before Lanny moves on? All right, Lanny, thanks.
Okay, the second professional services agreement deals with looking at two different sites and determining a practice facility for soccer. What this professional services agreement would do would be to use the base sheets from GIS, develop two concept plans for approximately 10 acres to develop local soccer practice facilities. We'd look at things like parking, restrooms, sidewalks, any of the necessary amenities, develop a preliminary grading plan, which could lead us to a cost estimate. A concept plan would be presented to us along with opinion of cost, and what we would do is basically pick the one we think fits us the best in terms of providing those additional facilities for practice, which we sorely need in soccer. And at the end, there would be a site rendering for the preferred plan. And that would get us to a point to where we could start talking about the development of that particular facility. The two pieces of property that we have in mind to suggest for those additional facilities, we've got some land the city owns at one's called the Jordan Farm, the other one's called the Coleman Farm. The Jordan Farm, if you know, is very close to the Siegel Soccer Park. It's 200 acres. We could carve a piece off of it pretty easily and have water available because they're trying to get rid of the gray water on that site. So irrigation should not be a problem for the grass and the development. And of course, one of the things that we're moving toward that the City Council has approved too is hiring a turf manager. And so with the advent of the school park sites and developing them, and the advent of developing a new practice area for soccer, layer that with a turf manager that can go out, make an assessment, develop those turf areas at the schools and at the practice fields. I think that positions us for the future in terms of our soccer program and the growth, and limiting or the amount of growth, I guess you would say, for play, because as the as the leagues grow and we bring tournaments in, the play is only one portion of what happens at soccer. Probably 2/3 of what happens at soccer is all the practice that happens at the facility. So if you want to extend play at the facility, you lessen the practice. So that we're looking at developing some really quality practice areas for soccer. The cost of this proposal would be $8,900. I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions of Lanning regarding this proposal? All right, if there are no questions, then we need a motion for acceptance of the two agreements as presented.
I move that we accept the two agreements.
Thanks, Stephen. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They are approved. Thanks, Lanning.
Welcome.
Lanning, we'll move now to item 3. You got some updates you're going to provide on some various projects.
Yes, sir. We just want to let you know that there's several projects. If you've seen a big track hoe out in front of SportsCom, the work has begun at SportsCom. And so if you get phone calls or you see the equipment starting, they're starting with the addition of the building. At first, the way we have that set up, they can only work in 2 areas. There's 6 identified areas within that contract for that building. They can only work in 2 identified areas at once. One of them would be the addition. They pick another one. We think that possibly expanding the concession stand in the back so we have that ready by the time Burrow Beach opens back up would be the possibility. We're supposed to meet Monday to talk about the sequencing of the work to make sure that we minimize the impact to our citizens and maximize the work that's going on. Just remember that our proposed schedule of construction closes SportsCom during March and April of 2015, and we open back in May of 2015. So that's where we are right now, and they have begun that project. The indoor tennis facility is moving forward. They have started what I call Building B, that entire building that's over 70,000 square feet is being erected in 3 different pieces. The first piece, if you've been by, that is up, that is called, in the construction world, Building A. And so Building A is up. That's the side to the east. The side to the west, which we call Building B, is going up. They were out erecting that yesterday. And when they get it up, Building C, which will be the middle portion, will come in, and that will be put on. Shortly after that, you'll see the outside coming together. Our goal is to get that dried in as quick as we can so the work can begin on the inside of the facility. Currently, we're about 2 weeks behind our schedule, and the contractor has indicated that he will try to make that up in the coming months, but it's all weather dependent. Our projected date of opening to the public would be next March. We were hoping to get MTSU in right after January so they could start their practice and so forth, and that's still our goal to do that. So we anticipate that given the way that they're working, they're out there working pretty much from sunup to sundown, weekends, trying to make sure that they meet the schedule. So the work's going well. Like any project, we'll have a glitch here or there, but we're trying to iron those out as we go. So that project is moving forward as well. On the Greenway, we have, and I know we've talked about it for several years, but we have what we call Phase 4A out for bid now. And so that bid will be opening in the next couple of weeks. If you remember what 4A does, where we ended on Barfield Road, adjacent to World Outreach Church, We will adjoin there and go down basically 2,300 feet south on Barfield Road to the first low water bridge. And some of you know where that is, but the first low water bridge, we will, in between that, where we connect and where we go across the low water bridge, we'll have a new parking lot built. And if you're familiar with the way they are now, they park everywhere at the end of Phase 3. And so we'll have a parking area, and we will build a bridge over to the South Ridge subdivision and have a small parking area on that side. That will be the extent of the construction. At that point, we will have another portion of 4A that will start at Barfield Crescent Park, and that will start in the upper end of the western parking area at the ball fields and come up to Veterans Parkway, go down Veterans Parkway to the west, go across the old Barfield Crescent Bridge that is closed now. That two-lane bridge, we'll utilize it for our trail. Once we cross it, we'll go under the new Veterans Park Bridge toward the north, terminate there, and take a sidewalk up to the existing sidewalk at Veterans Parkway. So that is 4A. We are working out all the things that we need to work out for 4B, hoping that we'll have it bid and under construction before 4A is complete. And though 4B would connect those two spots. So that's where we would get there. Okay. We have been in touch with the Corps of Engineers on the North Murfreesboro Greenway, which starts at Walter Hill and runs around the Coleman Farm. It's about a 3-mile stretch. They are re-engaging the architectural engineering firms. That should be completed by the end of this month. We're looking at a 6-month planning period. We have about a 60% set of plans now. We're looking at a 6-month planning period. Is what they're projecting. That would put us somewhere in April, May, having that out the door so that they could bid that project. That bidding would go through the Corps of Engineers, and then they would hopefully have an award sometime late summer. That project would take about 1.5 years to complete after awarded. So that's where we are with that. With the Gladys Blanton Park, which we all know is the old Westview Mini Park, we are very close to being substantially complete at that park. There are some modifications that we have asked them to make to that, and as soon as those are made, we will consider that park substantially complete. Punch list will be developed, and should be by the end of the month, that park should be ready to go as well.
All right.
All right. Any questions on any of those? But those are really kind of the current projects that we've got going on now.
Any questions for Laney?
Lanny, could you give us a real quick update on how our grass is coming along out at the soccer fields?
Sure. We've had Mr. Joel Beckman out there since midsummer, helping us, the turf manager from the golf course, and I just want to say publicly how much we appreciate Joel and the golf commission, golf department for loaning him, I guess, his services to us. They've been invaluable. And the grass has really come along. I think it's looked really well. I know that we've had the bash in the borough a week and a half ago. This last week we had the TSSAA State Girls Championships, and this week we've got the Boys State Championships. And as long as it doesn't rain too much today, we're in pretty good shape, honestly. Fields 6 through 10 still need some additional attention. They didn't grow in as good, but probably 95% covered. I know Mr. Shirley is an avid soccer.
Spent a lot of time out there the last 2 weeks.
A lot of time, but just from his perspective, I'd love to hear what his perspective is.
The comments I got
from Bash and also at the girls TSSAA championship, the fans who hadn't seen them since Spring Fling were amazed at 1 through 5 and how they'd come back, and also Field 11, the championship field. And those are the fields that the girls TSSAA played on. Those are the fields that they saw. So they were all very, very complimentary. The field conditions, even considering we got more rain on Tuesday night, Wednesday, right before the girls' tournament, it was in really, really good shape. And they held up well. The play, it was quality soccer based on the fields. Field 6 through 10, however, as Lanny has addressed, it's still very rough. And that's going to, honestly, going to be the same situation in the spring, because nothing's going to grow until next May when we're off of them. And considering where 1 through 5 were last May is where 6 through 10 are now. So I think that realistically, the work that was put in, that next fall, next August, when we come back to review, I foresee just great conditions again. And in the upper fields, the 12 through 15 are the upper fields, and they didn't suffer as much use and as much damage previously, and as such, they're in really, really good shape as well. So from a soccer referee and from a fan and player perspective, they're in much improved. And people, when they saw it the past 2 weekends, have said, we were worried about you guys, but now, you guys have really got it back to where it needs to be. And we can see that it's going to be much better in the future.
Yes. And we put a lot of effort, time, money. We appreciate the support of the commission, the council, administrative staff, everyone involved. Of course, we didn't know we were going to have the winter we had last year. I don't think anybody was anticipating. I know I went to a Parks Director conference, and we were all sharing our horror stories about our Bermuda facilities. But we've really worked hard, and we heard the positive comments just like Mr. Shirley heard. And our goal is to have them back in great shape come August 15th in 2015. That's our plan. We have a short, mid, and long-range plan. The proposals that I presented today is a part of that mid-range and long-range plan as well. So we're working toward that end to make sure that we're good.
All right, great. Thanks for that, Dave.
Okay.
Anything else? Any other questions or comments for Lanny? All right, Becky, you're up. Give us the details on the upcoming events.
Good afternoon, everyone. One of the things that I do need to mention is we have our youth basketball registration going on. We have extended the deadline until November 15th. So that is for ages 5 to 17. And they now have until November 15th, if they have not already signed up. They have about a week and a half left to do so. And they can register at Sportscom, Patterson, McFadden, and the main office at Barfield Crescent Park. Then Friday, November 14th, we have our Fall Harvest Hayride. That is from 5:30 to 8 p.m. at the General Bragg Trailhead. That is $2 a person. And they'll have live music, a campfire with marshmallows and s'mores, and an old-fashioned hayride. And that is for all ages, so join us Friday, November 14th at General Bragg Trailhead. Then comes December and the holiday season. We have Christmas at Cannonsburg Village, which will be held Saturday, December 6th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. They'll have hay rides. Santa will be there. You can take your picture with Santa if you opt to do so. There'll be music in the gazebo, storytelling. They'll be selling hot apple cider and hot chocolate. And we just want to stress to people that Christmas at Cannonsburg Village is an outside event on December 6th, so come prepared in case the weather's a little cool that day. So join us Saturday, December 6th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Cannonsburg. Then this is back by popular demand. It amazes me every year. The holiday lock-in at Sportscom, that is for ages 8 to 15, and that starts Friday, December 12th at 7 p.m. and ends Saturday, December 13th at 7 a.m., and it's held at Sportscom. It is $20, but it's great for parents who might want to have a night out, need to do some shopping. So sign your 8 to 15-year-old up, and they will keep them up and busy all night long, and they're not exaggerating. They keep the kids up and busy all night long at the holiday lock-in. You kind of get a whole weekend that way. They're gone Friday evening, and then they sleep all day Saturday to recuperate. Then we have our movie Under the Winter Stars, and that will be Saturday, December 13th. We're going to have it at Cannonsburg Village. It starts at 6:30 p.m., and that is free, and there will be a movie. If you'd like to know the movie title, you can contact our office at 893-2141. We will post it on Facebook. I just can't announce it here. But it is a very popular popular movie, especially with little girls within the past year. So I think there'll be quite a few bundling up and attending the movies Under the Winter Stars on Saturday, December 13th. We have Santa's Splash and Dash. That is Friday, December 19th from 6 to 10 p.m. at Patterson Park Indoor Pool. So this one you don't have to bundle up quite as much for. That is for ages 7 to 13, and they will have pizza, games, and activities, and of course swimming, and that is $5 if they register ahead of time, $7 if they come the day of and register that evening. And of course, we're inviting you all now, the 13th Annual Polar Bear Plunge, and that will be Saturday, January 3rd, 2015, and that begins at 10 a.m., and we're encouraging everybody to come on out and jump into the outdoor pool at Sportscom. Any takers? Nobody's making eye contact with me. So I'll be back next month to remind you all for the Polar Bear Plunge on Saturday, January 3rd. And as always, for more information on these programs and all of our other ongoing programs, you can contact our main office at 890-5333, our website at murfreesborotn.gov/parks. Our Fall Rec Connection is out right now, but starting in December is our winter edition for December, January, and February. And you can also check out one of our Facebook pages as well. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Becky. That concludes our new business. Is there any other business to come before the commission? If there is none, we are adjourned. Thank you.